Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Like Hoots, thank you for the 3 months. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Oh. You know what? No camera. No camera today. Just kidding. There we go. Hi, everyone. Okay, I literally went.
Tea party.
Cheney's oil money, thank you for the 3 months. Thank you, Dick Cheney. I truly went so back and forth. I was like, I'm not going to stream. 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 I'm going to stream. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. So I'm here. Honestly, it's an addiction. Here's the thing. I normally don't even cover world news. Like I do politics, but it's more of a it's like a sprinkling, right? World news is not typically my B&B. It's not my it's just like not my forte. However, what was happening today, the news obviously that has been coming out of Gaza, and all of the statements that are being made by our US politicians, including many on the progressive left, and then what people are saying online just had me being like, okay, we got to talk about this. We have to cover what's going on here, because there is so much history that's been erased, and to say that this was an unprovoked attack, to say that this is declaring war on Israel, is just flagrantly wrong. It is absolutely ignoring the fact that Israel, for decades now, has been a violent colonial settling nation. They are the oppressor. They, in 2007, established blockades in Gaza. And what has been happening there for the last 16 years is a humanitarian crisis, day in and day out. People there are cut off from air, land, and sea. They are struggling to eat. They, to have electricity, to have clean water, because Israel's number one goal is extermination. That is their goal. And they have been able to brutalize Palestinians with impunity because they have the full backing of countries like the United States of America. I mean, honestly, to see the responses, to see the comments put out by Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders, like I said, the progressive left in this country, was incredibly disappointing. To make a statement as such that absolutely erases the context of what is happening here. To say that you condemn this, but that is then to erase the fact that this is not something that was unprovoked. And here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. What is even more unbelievably hypocritical, and just the irony, just the pure irony of people who are supporting Ukraine and do not support Palestine. When I saw Zelensky's statement today, let me pull it up. And then the official Twitter accounts of Ukraine. God damn it. Hold on. Horrible news from Israel. My condolences go out to everyone who lost relatives or close ones in the terrorist attack. We have faith that order will be restored and terrorists will be defeated. Terror should have no place in the world because it's always a crime, not just against a specific country or this terror's victims, but against humanity in general and our entire world. Israel's right to self-defense is unquestionable. The fact that they are referring to this as self-defense when Israel is the occupier. Israel is illegally occupying Palestine. Artifacts, thank you for the tier 1. Denoct, thank you for the tier 1. Cheney, thank you. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Violence bad is an exceptionally valid, important take. Should have been shouted, echoed, and acted upon over the past 15 years of violent apartheid. Yep. Here's the thing. I am not interested in fighting with anyone who comes in here to say that I defend terrorism. I don't, like, get out, okay? Me saying that I support Palestine, that Palestine needs to be freed, that Palestine is under a violent apartheid regime, is not me saying that I support terrorism, that I think terrorists equals good. Because honestly, if I supported terrorism, I would be supporting Israel. If I'm supporting the first and foremost terrorist in this position, I would be supporting Israel. Oh God, is Nick in here? This will be an interesting stream to tune into. To support Ukrainians in Israel, we say... Okay, so anyway, yeah, Zelensky's hypocrisy is mind-bending. Ukrainians can resist Russia, who breached their borders 1 year ago, but Palestinians cannot resist 75 years of Israeli occupation and subjugation. Because yes, this is going back 75 years now. 1948 was the first time that Israel used very, very violent means to occupy 80... I think it was like 78% of Palestinian territory. That happened in 1948. The remaining 22% they took in 1967. So it was 75 years ago. I know, we'll get to Kylie. 75 years ago when Israel first started their whole illegal, violent, colonialist settlement. And then 56 years ago, when they took the remainder of Palestine. And then in 2007 is when what happened in Gaza is that Hamas, which is a far-right extremist, fundamentalist, Muslim organization, they took control of Gaza. Gaza, which rightfully belongs to Palestine, okay? And so what Israel did was implement air, land, and sea blockades, which effectively trapped the 2 million Palestinians who live in Gaza, trapped them into what we call an open air prison. So if you're seeing all over the internet the phrase world's largest open air prison, that's because that is what Gaza has been turned into, because the Palestinians who have been living in Gaza are prisoners in that territory, which was directly funded and supported by Israel. Yes. So there, like, if you are born in Gaza, you are effectively born into prison. They are not allowed to leave. Their movement is restricted. They are experiencing the most dire economic and social conditions that are you cannot believe how bad the conditions are. We will take a look at that. I have some videos on YouTube. And all of this is being done with the thumbs up of countries like the United States of America. They are allowing Israel to effectively squash Palestinians under their very violent colonialist thumb, with the approval of, the biggest nations around the globe. So here's the thing. What's happening right now is that Palestine has been backed into a corner. Okay, they are literally in Gaza. They are literally trapped in this enclave. And they've been effectively backed into a corner. They have no foreign ally support. The U.S. not only not only gives financial and military aid to the tune of billions of dollars a year to Israel, but they also provide large-scale political support. So they have used, this is wild. The United States of America, in the history of being a part of the UN, has used their veto power to veto against resolutions that the UN proposes. They've used their veto power 83 times in total. 42 of those times they have used to veto against resolutions condemning Israel, condemning what Israel has done, the fact that Israel is an apartheid state. The United States of America, over half of the vetoes that they have used in as part of their United Nations Security Council veto power, has been to make sure that there are no resolutions being passed to condemn what Israel has been doing. The U.S. is the biggest simp for Israel. Yes. And, you see Joe Biden's response today, and you listen to the mainstream media, you listen to really all of our politicians, and everything that they are saying is pro-Israel, which means that the United States of America is pro-apartheid. That is facts. And not only are it's not just that we're going, yeah, cool, do what you want to do. We are actively funding. We are funding the Israeli military. Israel is the strongest, they are the most powerful country in the Middle East. They have the most powerful military in the world, I believe. And we continue to we continue to fund the Israeli military, which is using the might of, the might of the entire military to squash the remaining Palestinians on this planet. And just to see, you cannot support Ukraine and then not support Palestine. It doesn't work that way. You cannot support Ukraine, who is actively fighting against Russia. Russia, who have invaded Ukraine, who are the oppressor in this situation. You cannot support the peoples being oppressed, Ukraine, versus the oppressor, Russia, and then not support Palestine, who are the people being oppressed, versus the oppressor, which is Israel. Do you understand how that makes you a hypocrite? How your moral and personal beliefs are not aligning if you support Ukraine but not Palestine. Ugh. So anyway, I kind of just launched right into this. We're gonna take a deeper look at things. But like I said before I got going, I wasn't planning on streaming, but this has been a really huge story today. I have seen, I've just seen such an overwhelming amount of support coming from our government, our progressive politicians, celebrities, Kylie Jenner. It got to a point where I was like, okay, we gotta talk. We gotta talk about this, because this is crime. What has been happening are crimes against humanity. And I cannot believe how many people are taking the side of the oppressor. And it just makes me wonder, if Nazi Germany had been more liberal, would these people have sided with Nazi Germany? Throughout history, you have the oppressor and the oppressee, the one being oppressed. And to not stand with Palestine means you take the side of the oppressor. Wait, Jenk actually had a decent take. I feel like when it comes to Palestine, he's always been pretty spot on. Like, listen, Jank is giving angry uncle at Thanksgiving when it comes to crime, when it comes to, you know, certain social issues in this country. But he's always been, at least to my knowledge, he's always been pretty spot on when it came to Palestine. But also, like, it's not hard. It's really not hard. It's not hard to understand that if you do not stand with Palestine, then you are standing on the side of the oppressor. If you don't care about the death of Israeli citizens, there's something wrong with you. If you don't care about the occupation of millions of people for over 50 years, there's also something. Okay, well, actually, this is, well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Sorry, I didn't really read the tweet. So, yes. Do I celebrate the deaths of Israeli citizens? No. Do I understand, though, how this happened and the fact that when you are facing annihilation, when you are the oppressed, when you are the oppressed people in this situation and you have no other choice, because every single day, Palestinians have had to live under the violent, live under the violence of the of Israel. And so, unfortunately, we are at a point now where this is what is happening. Israeli citizens, which include children, are being caught in the middle of something that their government could put a stop to. Let's not forget about that. Slicer, thank you for the prime. There's one side in this situation who has the power to end this violence, and that is Israel. Palestine does not have the power. Palestine is the one who is under apartheid. Israel is the one who is the apartheid nation. They are the ones who have the power to stop this ongoing war. And here's the thing, guys. You know what? Actually, this is a perfect this is actually a perfect way of looking at it. The late great Michael Brooks, here's his take on the Israel-Palestine conflict, which still holds true today, even more true today.
And is supported?
So it's not a complex issue. That's the big thing. It's super simple. There's one group that has enormous power. It's the most powerful country in the Middle East. It's backed by the United States. It acts on another population of people with total impunity and is never held accountable for anything. So there's no symmetry in the relationship.
Yes.
Period. And
period.
Just as like a thought experiment, IDW people, if we know that if somehow a population of Jewish refugees ended up in West Bank and Gaza, and an Arabic government in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv had an open-air prison in Jewish Gaza, which they bombed with white phosphorus, they killed civilians indiscriminately, and they had no provisions for medicine. They had an embargo that blocked food, that the electricity wasn't running, that there was an over 48% unemployment rate, life expectancy and malnutrition statistics were horrifying. One of the major policymakers in this hypothetical Arabic Palestinian state said, we need to put those Jews on a diet. In the West Bank, there was another Jewish area where...
By the way, the hypothetical he is giving here, he is simply reversing what is happening, what has been happening to Palestine by Israel. And he is instead saying, imagine if this happened to Israel. And all the things that he is listing are things that Palestinian people have been subjected to. Can we watch the whole? Oh, yes. Yeah, we can watch the whole video.
Hi.
Hi.
So my first question, it says on your Twitter that you're Jewish. Am I getting this right?
No.
Is it the right Twitter?
On my Twitter bio, it says I'm Jewish?
No, but like in your tweets. I don't want to be wrong.
You're Palestine. Thank you for
have
the tier
Jewish
1.
background. I'm just
Okay.
trying to think of
Feels
that.
bad,
So,
man.
As
Slicer, thank you
someone
for the
with a
prime.
Jewish background,
Yes.
how do you feel about...
By the way, if you are Jewish, and you voice your support for Palestinian rights, for like the right of Palestinian people to not be displaced and dispossessed and subjected to such a violent regime, you are labeled a traitor. You are not allowed to speak out in support of Palestine, or you are labeled by the nation of Israel as a traitor.
Bernie's plan for Israel, especially as someone concerned with foreign policy.
I love it. It's an absolutely necessary. My Jewish values teach me to oppose apartheid.
Okay. Could you elaborate, please?
I mean, there really isn't that much to elaborate on. I mean, has anybody ever been not only to Israel but also to the? Have you been to? Have you been to the West Bank? Have you been to Gaza?
Yep.
You went to Gaza.
I went to the border.
Oh, okay, but not to Gaza.
You can't be in Gaza.
Well, I know people who've gone to Gaza. You could definitely go to Gaza. So for me, my politics are built on a base of, economic justice and actually really like anti-racism, as in some ways as distinct from some of this sort of woke stuff in a way. But when I was already, I grew up, I was pretty connected to left politics, so I always knew growing up about the travesty that was the human rights situation there. And I knew that people I admired, like Nelson Mandela said, South Africa is going to not be properly free until the Palestinians are free. In 2006, I believe, I read a piece by a guy named Tony Judt in the New York Review of Books, who was a really important Jewish scholar. And he just said, the argument was that, literally this is childish.
Andros, thank you for the tier 1.
That you have an ethno-state or a religious state, if you're committed to any type of broad-based social, economic equity and civil society, it doesn't work. No matter how justified, right? Of course there's justification because of Jewish history.
Yeah, Michael was amazing.
There's justification for Kurdistan because of Kurdish reality. There's justification for Pakistan. It's notable that Israel and Pakistan are both disasters. Israel not in the sense of, look, if you're a European Jewish background, you have a nice life there. If you're not, you are, even inside 67 borders, not a fully equal citizen.
St. Ghosty, thank you for the gifted.
The West Bank is, it is literally Jim Crow-like, and Gaza is, it's just an atrocity. So that's not something that anybody could reasonably
Imposter,
ask
thank
me
you
to
for the
support.
3 months.
And
You know what's crazy is this has been going on for since 2007. And there are so many people who don't know anything about what's happening in Gaza. And after this, we'll watch a short little documentary. But it is, like I said, it is a daily humanitarian crisis. The people in Palestine, 2 million Palestinians, are cut off from food, water, electricity, to the point that non-profit humanitarian groups have had to go in there to try and keep the entire population from starving, because over 1 million Palestinian civilians do not have enough food. And just today, in response to the air raid attacks this morning by Hamas, they have cut off the electricity. They have control over every single aspect of Palestinian people's lives in Gaza. They control everything. They control their movement. They control their food. They control medicine. And it is it truly is one of the worst humanitarian crises that people don't know about or that they know about and are fine with it continuing. That's what we say when we say that, or that's what we're talking about when we say that Israel is allowed to commit these crimes against humanity with impunity. Because we know that Gaza is a prison. We know that this has been a prison for the Palestinian people living there since 2007. And yet Israel has just been allowed to continue to do whatever the fuck they want. And the other thing is that Israeli civilians are also encouraged to, to do their whole settler thing and to displace Palestinians from their homes, like this, for instance. This was a tweet from 2020. An old Palestinian couple in front of their stolen house now inhabited by Jewish settlers from Brooklyn, New York. Jewish people who weren't even fucking born in these places, who are allowed to displace Palestinians because they have the support of the IDF and the Israeli government. It makes your blood boil. I mean, yes. I don't think enough Americans understand how literal it is when Palestinians describe what is happening to them. Settler colonialism is not being used metaphorically. Having their home stolen is not just what it feels like. It is what it is. Like, that is what is actually happening.
I understand, yeah, there's some actions from some Palestinian groups that, we can condemn. In fact, those have not even really been in any way seriously in play since like 2003. And when we talk about, look, and the apartheid word specifically is both used by people who were crucial in ending apartheid in South Africa, like Desmond Tutu or Ronnie Kasrils, who served as intelligence minister under Mbeki, who I've interviewed. And the other main people who use the apartheid word are Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak. So it is what it is. And I don't support second-class citizenship and occupation and sieges for anybody, no matter who they are.
Yes.
Are you not concerned about the binary between either condemning Israel entirely, being like also a stance that a lot of like very strong and notorious anti-Semitic people agree with, versus like, seeing this as more of a complex issue where it is wrong what's going on, and that there's also a way to do this that Israel still exists and is supported?
So it's not a complex issue. That's the big thing. It's super simple. There's one group that has enormous power. It's the most powerful country in the Middle East. It's backed by the United States. It acts on another population
this is
of
the
people
clip
with
from
total
Twitter.
impunity and is never held accountable for anything. So there's no symmetry in the relationship, period. And just as like a thought experiment, IDW people, if we know that if somehow a population of Jewish refugees ended up in West Bank and Gaza, and an Arabic government in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv had an open-air prison in Jewish Gaza, which they bombed with white phosphorus, they killed civilians indiscriminately, and they had no provisions for medicine. They had an embargo that blocked food, that electricity wasn't running, that there was an over 48% unemployment rate, life expectancy and malnutrition statistics were horrifying. One of the major policymakers in this hypothetical Arabic Palestinian state said, we need to put those Jews on a diet. In the West Bank, there was another Jewish area where there was a little bit more autonomy, but there was regular Arabic settlements where they pulled up the Jewish farmers' foods, they terrorized them with rocks, the security forces broke children's bones, and they couldn't drive on their own roads. We'd all have no problem understanding what that was. So there's nothing complex about it. The second part of your question, it's a pure asymmetry relationship. And the question is rights or not. So that's it. It's not complicated. The second part of your question, at this point, there's always going to be crackpots who are anti-Semitic who condemn Israel. That's not what drives the movement, particularly in the United States. If you work around most people who are concerned with this issue, it's actually populated with a lot of Jewish people. The real question we have to ask is, why is it that AIPAC is hosting an information minister for Slobodan Milosevic? Why is it that there's relationships between the Israeli government and far-right parties in Europe? Why is it that Benjamin Netanyahu's son is posting borderline alt-right memes? Why is it that Israel is an alt-right state, even though it is from the descendants of the victims of one of the greatest crimes in history? That's a serious question, and that's inseparable from the racism of the project, which goes back to the first part that we have to solve. But thank you. Shalom. And I am serious about it coming from Jewish values. Like Tony Judd, my reading, to the extent I do, which I actually do have some connection to that in a religious sense, it's unacceptable for me. But yeah, no, I know. We'll but it's not complicated.
Yeah,
Hi.
here's the link to that. Rest in peace, Michael Brooks. One of the best that we had. And he so brilliantly sums up why this is not a both sides matter, because it is an asymmetrical relationship. Israel has the power. Israel is the oppressor. And that line he says, where my Jewish values teach me to oppose apartheid, should cast shame on all who do not also say that, right? Whether you are Jewish or not, your values as a human being should teach you to oppose apartheid. This is Michael in a nutshell: total grasp of the subject and ability to analyze it that allows, yes. Halsey retweeted Michael. Yeah, so what's funny is that now the celebs are, it's not complicated. Halsey's usually on the right side of things. You know who's not? This dumbass. And it's interesting because over the last year, Bella Hadid specifically has become so vocal in her politics, because Bella is Arab, as is Gigi, and Bella specifically has been very vocally pro-Palestine and, uses her platform to advocate for Palestinians. I'm sorry, they are Palestinian. Yes, I wasn't 100%, so I didn't want to say that they were Palestinian. They are Palestinian. Their father is Palestinian. So Bella has been very vocal in her support for Palestine. And okay, so today the celebs have been sharing this post by the Instagram account Stand With Us, which I'm sure is an Israel linked org. I saw Jamie Lee Curtis sharing this. I got sad. You know what? Jamie Lee has fucked up one too many times. Okay, between the Nepo baby comments, her talking about how she's Switzerland in the issue of the ongoing strike between the WGA and the studios, Sarah Hyland too, because you know what this is? Celebrities are actually really dumb. Believe it or not, celebrities are really stupid. A lot of them don't actually do any work for themselves because it doesn't matter. They don't need to educate themselves. They just do whatever looks like they are on the right side of things. Like they know what's up. And so when they see other celebrities and other people sharing this now and always we stand with the people of Israel, they go, "Oh, this is going to make me look as if I know what's happening around the world and that I'm standing up for what's right." Not Christian. Thank you for the 5. Thank you. Ota, thank you for the tier 1. But here's the thing, is they're so dumb and they're so they really just are so in a bubble. If they had taken 2 seconds to do some basic research on Israel versus Palestine, I don't know if they would be posting this. Now, listen, people like Gal Gadot, obviously. Gal Gadot was literally part of the IDF. But somebody like Kylie Jenner, who it turns out then deleted this post, and so I joked that she was getting ripped apart in the group chat, that Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid in the group chat were lighting her ass up. I'm sure Kendall was just about to post it and then saw her sister getting blasted. I think they're being scared. They're scared of being called anti-Semitic. Yeah, I also think that they don't know that there is, like, they think that this is a situation where like during BLM, it was very popular and right to take the side of justice, to side with Black people versus the police, you know? And so they shared the BLM posts, did the little black squares. And I think in this situation, Israel versus Palestine, they don't actually understand the history behind this specific issue, and they don't know about Gaza. And maybe this is me giving, maybe this is me ascribing an ignorance to them that in reality they're just they're just Zionists. I don't know. But I really do think that celebrities were sharing this post, celebrities like Kylie Jenner, because they don't actually know anything about this situation, and they just see people sharing this thing and they think, oh, Israel's been attacked. Israel, Palestine declared war on Israel. All of these people were killed. I stand with Israel. I feel like they love the aesthetics of progress. Right. I'm saying that as well. And I'm saying that I think in the case of someone like Kylie Jenner, this is not her actually knowing the history of Israel and Palestine and how Israel is the oppressor. Israel is, is crushing Palestine with the full weight of their apartheid regime. I don't think she knows any of that. I think she simply thinks that this is the right side to be supporting because she saw other people doing that. And I'm not even kidding you. I don't even say this as a joke when I say Bella Hadid came for her. I guarantee it. I'm sure Bella literally texted her or called her to be like, you take that fucking shit down now. Because Kylie Jenner has like 250 million Instagram followers. So she's got a huge platform. And if one of my best friends supported the side that has been oppressing my people, I'd be calling their ass and say, you delete this right now, or else I'm never speaking to you again, bitch. Yeah, I mean, this was Bernie Sanders. I absolutely condemn the horrifying attack on Israel by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. There's no justification for this violence, and innocent people on both sides will suffer hugely because of it. It must end now. Oh boy. It sucks that this is what we have as the as the pillar of the American left. Fetterman too. Yeah, but I'm not as surprised by Fetterman. For politicians, they're literally forced into this, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that Pramila Jayapal had the guts to say that Israel is a racist state, that Israel is an apartheid state, and she got absolutely blasted by her own party. And they ended up doing, they ended up voting in the House to pass a resolution saying that Israel is not a racist or apartheid state. And that was in response to the comments made by Representative Pramila Jayapal. That is how much the U.S. government is up Israel's ass. And they have had unwavering support for Israel for decades. It's rooted in the aftermath of World War II, the Cold War. They have a very cushy relationship with Israel. And it's why it's why we give $3+ billion a year in military aid. It's why we unequivocally support Israel in their fight against Palestine and say that they have the right to defend themselves, blah, blah, blah. And it's just so funny. Like, you guys, you have to understand, we are talking about Israel. The power of the Israeli military, the inordinate amount of wealth and resources that Israel have. This is not a two-sided battle. This is one side who has all of the power, all of the means, all of the resources, and is the one who did this, who started this violence, this bloodshed, because they took land from Palestinian people that belonged rightfully to Palestinians. That is how this began. Israel is a settler nation. They do not belong where they are. They are illegally occupying Palestine. Like, that is not my opinion. That is straight up facts. They are the occupiers. Okay, this would be like, let me just put this in simple terms. All right. You're in your home that you rightfully own, and that is your home and your land. And I come in and I violently kill everybody in your house. You're left alive, but you are kicked out of your home. I'm like, you're out of here. This is mine now. And then I have the support of like the other powerful nations around. Okay, the houses around. I have the support of those houses, even though I was the one who came in and violently murdered your family and kicked you out of your home. And then you, in attempting to fight back, are considered to be the are considered to be the violent starting the war oppressor, when in reality it was me. And you have absolutely nothing, and yet you are considered the aggressor in the situation, even though I was the one who came in and did all this shit to you. Southie, thank you for the tier 1. Was the first response. Yeah, I mean, I think with what Gremlo said, that was correct, where our politicians, and that includes our progressives, they are trapped. And it doesn't mean it's not disappointing, but they are kind of held hostage to the rest of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the White House, and it's sad to see them not contextualize this properly, when we know in the past they have previously stood for Palestine, and and we're right to do so. You're defending brutal attacks against civilians. Oh, so you're defending apartheid. If you want to play this game, you want to come at me and say that I am like for the Israeli civilians who were murdered today, then I'm going to come back at you and say you are for the literal apartheid regime that Palestinians have been suffering under. In 2014 alone, over 2,000 Palestinian civilians were murdered by the Israelis. Were you like up in arms then? Were you like talking about how we,
Palestinian territories.
Surdy, thank you for the 2 months. Sabrina, thank you for the tier 1. XJG, thank you for the tier 1. Like, this is what I said, where, you know what, that's the last time I'm going to even remotely argue with someone who comes in here. This is not the place to come in here and listen to this conversation that we are having and say that I am pro-terrorism, that I am pro Israeli civilians being murdered, okay? That's not what's going on here. And also, that is you being incredibly ignorant to what the reality of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is. This is not a two sides thing. Okay, and this is not an unprovoked attack. It is a terrible effect of not only war, but when one side, which is the Palestinians, who have been backed into a corner and are fighting back against the oppressive regime that they live under, okay? Because here's the thing. As horrible as the loss of life is, people who are oppressed have the right to fight back against their oppressors. That is how the world has always existed. And it is awful. It is awful, of course, that civilians have been caught in the crosshairs. And if you compare how many Palestinian peoples have been killed versus Israeli, the numbers are not even close. Every life lost is a total tragedy. But to just like simply ignore the reality of what Palestinian people have suffered. Yeah, 75 years. The only people to blame for this is the Israeli state. The state, yes, and this. Somebody linked me. Hold on, I have like 8,000 tabs open right now. So here's a short video on how Israel actually helped to create Hamas. So Israel is to blame for all of this, okay? The very extremist organization that was responsible for the attack on Israeli civilians and troops today was created by Israel.
The Palestinian militant group Hamas has carried out brutal acts of terror against Israeli civilians, and Israeli and American leaders are always keen to tell us how dangerous and evil Hamas is.
The inhumanity of Hamas.
I have no sympathy for Hamas.
That keep shelling Israel with thousands of rockets and mortar shells.
But what if I told you that Israel helped create Hamas? Officially, Hamas, which is the acronym for an Arabic phrase meaning Islamic Resistance Movement, was founded in 1987, at the start of the first Palestinian Intifada, or uprising against the Israeli occupation. But its roots were planted much earlier. The Hamas founder Sheikh Ahmed Yassin was a half-blind, disabled Palestinian cleric and member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood had been repressed by the Egyptians in Gaza prior to 1967, but once the Israelis invaded and occupied the Strip, they didn't just turn a blind eye to these Islamists, they encouraged them. See, the Israelis, especially right-wing Israelis, wanted to undermine the power of the dominant Palestinian political force at that time, the nationalist PLO, at the heart of which was the secular Fatah party of Yasser Arafat, their bête noire.
بغصن الزيتون في يدي وببندقية الثائر في يدي.
By empowering Sheikh Yassin and the Muslim Brotherhood, Israeli leaders thought they could divide and rule the occupied Palestinians, play them off against each other, secular nationalists against religious Islamists. So in 1978, when Yassin wanted to officially register his Islamic Association, which was basically the precursor to Hamas, the Israelis were only too keen to help. Yassin built and grew a network of Islamist social institutions across Gaza, including schools and clubs and mosques, and Israel helped fund some of those projects. Most American politicians have no clue about any of this, although the former Republican Congressman Ron Paul once made this point on the floor of the House.
Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser
Ron
Arafat.
Paul.
Arafat himself told an Italian newspaper, quote, Hamas is a creature of Israel. He even claimed that former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin admitted as much to him, calling it a fatal error. Now, you might be wondering, why should I believe mad Ron Paul or the famously shady Yasser Arafat? Well, you don't have to. You can believe top Israeli and US officials who've basically owned up to all this. Brigadier Yitzhak Segev, for example, who was the Israeli military governor in Gaza, and later told a New York Times reporter that he helped finance the Islamic movement. The Israeli government gave me a budget, he said, and the military government gives to the mosques. Colonel David Hakam, who worked in Gaza in the late 1980s as an Arab affairs expert in the Israeli military.
Yeah, I mean, this was the same thing with the Taliban, right? It's always the same story where you have the dominant nation who, in order to advance their interests and and possess the power that they are looking for, they rely on these extremist groups, which by the very nature of being an extremist group means that they won't have control over them. And ISIS, yes. I mean, it really is. I think you could look at any extremist group that has formed in modern history and point to countries like the United States as the reason that those groups exist. Fuck it, dude. Yes. You fuck around and you find out. Absolutely. And yes, it's the idea. It's the idea that like you can utilize this this extremist group to your advantage until you no longer can, and then you try to get everyone to forget that you were the reason that they came to existence in the first place.
Admitted that the original sin was Israeli support for Yassin in the late 70s. But at the time, he has argued, nobody thought about the possible results. Well, Avner Cohen did. Cohen was the Israeli official who was responsible for religious affairs in Gaza for more than 2 decades, and who now says, quote, Hamas, to my great regret, is Israel's creation. Yeah, Cohen's words. He actually wrote an official report to his superiors in the mid-1980s, warning them not to play divide and rule in the occupied territories and calling on Israel to, quote, break up this monster before this reality jumps in our face.
Yep.
But no one else on the Israeli side really took the possibility of blowback seriously at that time. They never do they? Hamas has since killed far more Israeli civilians than any secular Palestinian militant group, and its leaders have been pretty viciously anti-Israeli and even anti-Semitic in their rhetoric.
لا مكان لكم بيننا ولا مستقبل لكم بين الأمم إنكم إلى زوال.
Sheikh Yassin would eventually be assassinated by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza.
Sheikh Yassin and its organization, the Hamas, are responsible to the killings of more than 400 Israelis. So the question shouldn't be why now. I think it should be why not before.
Why not before? Well, because before, Israel was actually nudging and winking at Yassin and co., building them up as a rival to Arafat's Fatah. The die was cast for blowback. Blowback, incidentally, that they decided to double down on when they assassinated Yassin.
You can hear the crowds chanting for Hamas, and any idea that this operation would actually suppress or diminish that organization seems to be ill-judged.
The inconvenient truth is that Hamas is in part a creature of Israel's own making, an enemy that Israel spent more than 20 years helping to build up, and then spent the next 20 years, the past 20 years that is, trying to bomb, besiege, and blockade out of existence. The 3 Gaza wars fought by Israel against Hamas since 2008 killed around 2,000 Palestinian civilians and a dozen Israeli civilians. That's the real human cost of blowback. David Long, a former Middle East expert at the US State Department under Ronald.
And the thing too is that Palestinian civilians would not, under other circumstances, be supporting a terrorist group, but because they have no one else fighting for their liberation, that is who they have. They have no foreign allies. You know, every major nation supports Israel. And so this is who they are left with. They are left with Hamas to fight this war against Israel. And it's why, you know, you see young Palestinian men who are joining terrorist organizations like Hamas, because that is who is fighting for the liberation of Palestine. Okay, so let's watch this little doc here. They have nothing left but that. Yes. When you've been pushed to your limits, you're going to get desperate. Yes, they have been, as I've said multiple times, backed into a corner. They have the, and here's the thing. I said this previously, and I'm just going to keep saying it. When you are under oppression, you have the right to fight back against your oppressor. And so that is really the truth of the situation here. And it's awful that so many human lives have been lost. But this has been happening for 75 years. And for people to only care about Israeli civilians whose lives were lost today absolutely erases the totality of Palestinian lives that have been lost or have been displaced or dispossessed because of Israel.
What's life like inside the world's biggest prison? To find out, you don't have to commit any crime, you just have to be born in Gaza. This tiny strip of flat, open Palestinian land, about 25 miles long and only 7 miles wide at its widest point, is surrounded by Egypt and the Mediterranean Sea to the south and west, and Israel, which has closed Gaza off to the outside world since the early 90s. Like many prisons, Gaza is overcrowded.
Yes, there's the fact that Hamas doesn't really represent Palestine too. Right. You know, Palestinians don't want to, they don't want to have a terrorist group be their, be their liberators, but that is who they have. That is all that they have.
In 2021, the population grew to over 2 million, with one of the highest population densities in the world, triple that of Detroit, which is about the same size. But where did all these people come from? Well, about 70% of Gazans are refugees and their descendants. They were forced to move there when Israel took over their towns and villages around the time it was founded in 1948. Many fled, thinking they were temporarily getting to safety. But Israel has never allowed them to go back, despite many of these towns and villages being a short drive or walking distance from Gaza. Israel actually went on to occupy Gaza in 1967, imposed military rule on the people who lived there, and gave part of its territory to Israeli settlers. In the early 90s, it imposed a closure policy on Gaza. Palestinians there could no longer leave without a time-restricted, hard-to-get permit, and Palestinians from other areas were restricted from visiting Gaza as well. But it was in 2006 when things got really bad. Israel had pulled its soldiers and settlers out of Gaza the year before, while still controlling the borders, the airspace, and the economy. The Palestinian group Hamas, which has a military wing that fights the Israeli occupation, won Palestinian elections and took over Gaza. In response, Israel took its policies to the next level. The only power plant was bombed. Travel was banned. Most imports and exports were blocked, forcing most of Gaza's factories to shut down. Fishermen couldn't fish beyond a very limited area. Supplies of fuel and electricity were reduced so much the people converted their cars to run on cooking oil. Even medical supplies were restricted.
This is what has been happening in Gaza since 2007. Okay, this is the world's largest open-air prison. What do you expect the people who have been living under this cage for 16 years, what do you expect them to do? The consequences of apartheid, like how the people under apartheid react is never going to be pretty. The way that they fight back is never going to be, it's never going to be perfect, okay? I think Hassan tweeted this. There's no perfect retaliation to apartheid, only victims everywhere. One party holds all the power to end the violence, however, and it's certainly not the Palestinians living under a colonial apartheid regime that has chained them in an open-air prison that it bombs routinely. Like, what the fuck are they supposed to do? This is how they've been living. 2 million Palestinians. They're literally prisoners. They are bombed daily. Civilians are murdered at whim. The IDF is fucking ruthless. They do whatever they want, and they do it with impunity. They control every aspect of these people's lives. And if they, you know, I'm not even kidding you. I'm not even kidding you. If they thought they could get away with it, and they probably go back and forth, they would exterminate all of them. I'm telling you right now. Because that's pretty much what they've been trying to do. But you can't just like murder 2 million people at once. But make no mistake, like that has been what is going on. That is the end goal. They want the annihilation of all of Palestine. And that's why somebody like Michael Brooks says, my Jewish values tell me or teach me to stand up to apartheid. Because as a Jewish person, he is referring to the history, the very famous history of Jews that we all know. Just a reminder that in 2018, Palestinians in Gaza mounted the Great March of... Oh, right. Okay. Yes, this is an important point. So all these people being like, oh, well, why don't they just fight back peacefully? They've tried.
The Palestinians the same way the U.S. wanted to genocide Native Americans for their land and resources.
Himbo, thank you for the 4 months. Yes, that is what the oppressor always wants to do. The goal is always extermination, okay? They come in, they take their, they take the land, they take the resources, and they kill the people. So just as a reminder, in 2018, Palestinians in Gaza mounted the Great March of Return. This was a peaceful protest to show the world their plight. Day after day, they walked unarmed to Israel's military fences around Gaza. Israel shot 8,000 of them with live ammunition, killing 220 Palestinians, 36,000 total injured. So please, miss me with the, well, this isn't the way that you're supposed to fight for, that you're supposed to fight for freedom. Look at Gandhi, look at MLK, and guess what? Okay? There was violence in both of those fights for justice, for the freedom of, people in India and Black Americans. Okay? And don't forget, MLK Jr. was fucking murdered. All right? And also, Gandhi, racist, okay? We're not going to get into Gandhi, but let's stop using Gandhi as the example of, this is how all oppressed peoples should respond to oppression. All right? So, this is, truly, you need to stop and think about how you would feel if you were Palestinian, if you were in a situation like this, where your home had been taken from you, where you had to sit there day after day and look at people, see people who had invaded your home, who had taken, like, literally taken your home, and, you know, who subject you to total control, and you know, don't care that you're starving, don't care that you have clean water or that you don't have clean water, who control, like, where you live, where you go to work, who you marry. Like, your whole life is under control, and it's terrible. It is a terrible life. And on top of this, to have motherfuckers in, like, the United States of America and Canada telling you how you should achieve your freedom. Like, many people who just don't think that you should have it in the first place, but then others who say that there is a right way and a wrong way for you to not be oppressed anymore.
The Israeli government decided how much food would be let in by calculating how many calories everyone in Gaza would get. As a government advisor at the time said, the idea is to put the Palestinians on a diet, but not make them die of hunger. These policies crushed Gaza's economy. It now has the highest unemployment rate in the world, and more than half the people live under the poverty line. Even materials to build infrastructure like sewage treatment plants have been held back, so raw sewage is pumped into the sea. In 2012, the United Nations said that if things didn't get better, Gaza would be unlivable by 2020. Instead, things got even worse. There have been several major military assaults by Israel on Gaza. Israel says the goal of these assaults is to limit Hamas's ability to fight. Thousands of civilians have been killed, and tens of thousands of homes destroyed in these assaults. Israeli officials call it mowing the lawn. But even when the assaults stop, supplies to rebuild are often prevented by Israel from entering the territory. Meanwhile, the Egyptian government is a close ally of the Israeli government and has long helped maintain the siege. Its border with Gaza has often been closed as well. When the border does open, only a few hundred people are allowed in or out. For a while, Gazans built a tunnel economy under that border, smuggling in everything from urgently needed supplies to weapons to even fast food from Egypt. But the Egyptian government eventually flooded many of the tunnels and even destroyed one of its own border towns to cut off these supplies. About half of Gaza's population are children, meaning they've only ever known life under this blockade.
Yes, literally born into prison. If you are born in Gaza, you are born into a prison.
They've never known a full day with electricity. They know when the bombing starts, there's nowhere for them to flee. They know that when they get older, they're probably not going to find work. They likely will not be able to leave Gaza or even meet Palestinians from other parts of their country. They know what it's like living in the world's biggest prison.
Yeah, and this is our taxpayer dollars, by the way, guys. Our money as Americans, money that we pay to the government, who then turn around and give billions in aid to Israel to allow them to do this kind of evil. Yeah, and a lot of people keep being like, how is the West okay with this? Like, why isn't the West denouncing apartheid? It's because the US has had a very strong allyship with Israel since dating back to World War II. We would shit our pants rather than go up against the weight and the power of Israel. Israel is an incredibly powerful nation. We have, a lot of trade with Israel. So it all comes down to money, of course. So that is why, even though public support historically has always sided with Israel because Israel has an incredibly powerful PR machine. But in recent years, public support has started to waver and more people are standing with Palestine and using the phrase free Palestine. And yet you see our government continue to double and triple down in their unequivocal support for Palestine. And that's why, like, you saw, the House passed a resolution to say that Israel was not an apartheid state. Like, they are doing everything in their power to protect Israel and to denounce anyone who refers to Israel as a racist or apartheid nation. About $4 billion a year in 95% military aid. Then we pay Israeli defense companies to essentially use Palestine as a testing ground for new weapons. Yes. Yes, mega churches and Christian groups in Texas have financially back Israel.
Most people in Gaza have a tap where clean water once flowed, but Israel's recurrent
also
attacks
hating
on
brown
the
people.
infrastructure and its long devastating blockade of the enclave has deteriorated the water quality. The Global Institute for Water and the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor have deemed...
Remember, Palestinians have no control over their supplies, water, electricity. Their peaceful coexistence project in the West Bank led to a tremendous amount of bloodshed and displacement. Yes, that was in 2018. When you're backed into a corner with all your socialist revolutionaries purged with no allies in foreign nations, the Palestinian people have no one other than a violent Muslim Brotherhood cutout fundamentalist org that will be seen as liberators. Hasanabi. Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's something he is 100% correct. And it's probably a good thing for his own mental health that he didn't stream today. And it's something that I worried about with streaming or posting online, just the unprecedented attacks on anybody who is voicing support for Palestine. And because Twitter is just a hellscape now, people telling you to like go fucking kill yourself. He might have gotten banned today again. Yes, it should not be controversial. It should not be a question who you stand with when it comes to Israel and Palestine, because like I said a million times, only one of these nations is the oppressor in the entire history of Israel and Palestine.
97% of Gaza's water undrinkable. Rabiha Shanti says she and her husband can spend up to 3 days without water.
The water is not suitable for boiling or for cooking. The water here has become not suitable for human consumption or even for animals. We can't use it now. The water is very salty. Even when I want to perform ablution, I have...
Who is the oppressor? I need you to just like watch for 2 seconds.
to use filtered water.
Most water piped to households through municipal networks is considered unfit for human consumption, and Gazans are aware of it. That's why 9 out of 10 people rely on desalinated water, which is purchased in containers or tanks at prices 10 to 30 times more expensive than piped water. Most people can't afford it, so they get it from charity tanks near mosques and public parks.
We go to bring water from the mosque. Every day we go there and carry gallons of water from that distance. This is exhausting for everyone here. We demand that they bring us filtered water or supply it to municipalities.
Israel's economic siege and continual bombing of Gaza's water and sewage infrastructure are the main reasons for the water crisis. The acute electricity crisis there also prevents water wells and sewage treatment plants from operating correctly. Now 80% of Gaza's untreated sewage is discharged into the sea, while 20% seeps into underground water, adding insult to injury.
Israel consumes about 70% of the underground water reservoir in the Gaza Strip. About 97% of the population does not have access to potable water. This has had serious effects in terms of the population's health and its incidence of diseases related to water pollution.
Palestinians in Gaza are used to going the extra kilometer every time they need something. Now NGOs have urged
97%.
and the international community to take drastic action to ensure the water security of residents, but that's something Gazans are very doubtful will ever happen. Nizar Sadawi, TRT World, Gaza.
This is a tweet here. Hold on. Remember, if I were to go to Israel today, it's called return, even though I was born in Uzbekistan and I am an American Jew. And if a Gaza Palestinian goes to Israel, it's called invade, even though he still has the keys to the house that his family is from. Yeah. Period. Again, I'm just gonna keep repeating the same things because this has been going on for 75 years and people are still confused who is the violent oppressor here. Israel's occupation of the West Bank, which includes East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip, has resulted in systematic human rights violations against Palestinians living there. Since the occupation first began in June of 1967, Israel's ruthless policies of land confiscation, illegal settlement, and disposition, coupled with rampant discrimination, have inflicted immense suffering on Palestinians, depriving them of their basic rights. Israel's military rule disrupts every aspect of daily life in the occupied Palestinian territories. It continues to affect whether, when, and how Palestinians can travel to work or school, go abroad, visit their relatives, earn a living, attend a protest, access their farmland, or even access electricity or a clean water supply. It means daily humiliation, fear, and oppression. People's entire lives are held hostage by Israel. They have also adopted a complex web of military laws to crush dissent against its policies, and senior government officials have branded Israelis advocating for Palestinian rights as traitors. The hundreds of Israeli military closures across the West Bank, such as checkpoints, roadblocks, and settler-only roads, as well as the overall permit regime, make simple daily tasks for Palestinians who are trying to get to work, school, or hospital a constant struggle. Like, just imagine that. Oh, I didn't have this pulled up. Okay, well, sorry. Just imagine, though, that, like, you are trying to get to school, trying to get to work, whatever you're trying to do, and every single day, you have to pass checkpoints. You have to, you are scrutinized. You are like, if they don't want you to go to work or if they want you to go work somewhere else, like you're no longer allowed to go to X place, then you're no longer allowed to do that. Like this is your home, but these people moved in, took it from you, and now dictate what you get to do because there's nowhere else for you to go. And the whole like, oh, just go somewhere else. Where the fuck are they supposed to go? Especially in Gaza, where they are locked in. There are literal blockades, air, land, and sea. So they can't even leave. And also, where would they go? It's like going through TSA every day, but 100 times worse. Yes, imagine that. 100 times worse than TSA. In your own home. Your own lands.
Yesterday, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency sent out a flash appeal.
This is from 2 years ago.
Asking for nearly $40 million to help run their operations inside Gaza. The organization says more than 66,000 displaced people are now sheltering in 58 UN-run schools, UNRWA schools in the region. Joining me now, one of the people actually doing that work on the ground, Matthias Schmala.
I need some of y'all to recontextualize what you're saying and realize you would have been on the side of apartheid South Africa against the Haitian Revolution. Yes.
Director of UNRWA, or UNRWA, in Gaza. Matthias, thank you so much for your time. First, let me get your reaction to the news of a ceasefire and how that will change the situation on the ground for you and your staff.
Thank you and good evening from Gaza. Well, first of all, seeing is believing. Just 2 minutes before I came on air, there was again a loud bomb that frightened both my colleagues sitting with me here and myself. So we really have to wait and see if it's going to happen. The sense is we're probably in for another loud and vicious night. But of course, we want this ceasefire, all of us here on the ground, and of course most of all the Palestinian civilian population has been waiting for this. It has to stop. The price is unbearably high among the 60+ children that have been killed.
Bentley, thank you for the 4 months.
19 that went to UNRWA schools, to one of our 278 schools. The cost is unbearable, and we have to stop this so that people can somewhat begin to rebuild their lives, and hopefully that can start tomorrow.
Can you just bring us up to speed, sir, about the conditions of your operations in terms of the situation for your team and what you are able to do and what you're not able to do given what you just lived through?
So many of my Palestinian colleagues, we have 13,000 staff here.
I do not know what 75 years of oppression and horrible material conditions would do to me. No one has the right to judge what the Palestinians are doing. No one. Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. And that's what I said when I was like, what do you expect people who have been oppressed for decades, some of whom have been oppressed their entire lives? Like, at this point, 75 years, that's most living Palestinians. How do you expect them to respond? Especially when we're talking about Gaza. Gaza, which is a literal prison, okay? What do you want them to do? How do you expect them to fight back against daily violence? You cannot fight back against the violence that has been enacted on Palestinian people. You cannot fight back with peace. And they have tried that and it did not work. So now what do you, the purveyor of how to fight back against oppression 101, what do you suggest? Truly, there's so many people online in here who are acting as if they've got the correct answer on how to fight back against violent oppression. Walter, thank you for the prime.
And only 10 of us are international, so most of them are Palestinians. And many have spoken about how they feel this has been more vicious than 2014. And where I'm going with this is that there have been serious movement restrictions. An example I've used a lot is our chief of health, who is in charge of our 22 primary healthcare centers, always proudly talks about not having closed one of the health centers for a single day in 2014. In the third day into this, she called me in the morning and said, Matthias, please let us keep the health centers closed. It's too dangerous. Now, you mentioned the 58 schools, or 59, I think it is, where there are 66,000 plus people. One reason why we've been slow in standing them up, getting them properly managed and getting assistance roles.
Oh, and by the way, Israel loves to target residential buildings. Like throughout the back and forth between Hamas and Israel, one thing that Israel loves to do is to target residential buildings. They love to murder civilians. That is exactly what they did today. Yes. So it is just it is astounding to see how blindsided, the one track way of thinking that people have when looking at the situation here, where they refuse to see Israel for who they are. Also, their snipers love to target anyone they can deem a potential militant who are basically children. Yes, because a huge part of this, at the root of why Israel is oppressing Palestine is due to racism. Israel does not look at Palestinian children as children who deserve the life and liberty and all the things that you deserve when you are a human being. They look at them as less than because they are brown. And that is why they have been illegally occupying their lands. They say that they do not have the right to these lands that are theirs. It's the same shit we did with indigenous people. You know, we, like, white Europeans who came to America looked at indigenous people and were like, you are less than us because you are dark-skinned and savage, and so we're going to genocide you, and that's okay because we are white and you are not. Caroline doesn't get the fuck out of here. You fucking freak. Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, anybody in here who's trying to say I'm anti-Semitic, that I hate Jewish people, fuck off. Truly, choke on my fucking dick. Eat my ball sack. Yes, I am anti-Zionist. And that is not the same thing. Zionists not equal to Jewish, okay? Jewish people who know what's up are anti-Zionism as well.
Is that our staff are scared to travel. You know, I have never seen a terrified population, including our own people. Really, security and fear has been
I am a Jewish anti-Zionist. Keep spinning. Yes, lot of Jewish people, especially here in America, are anti-Zionist, anti-apartheid, and they understand the difference between being anti-Semitic.
Main impediment to getting anything done. Having said that, our staff are heroes, like many others through Palestine Red Crescent and so on. We've kept our primary healthcare centers open.
Imagine some Russian getting on here telling Ukrainians to just move to the United States instead of fighting back.
Your Palestine, thank you for the dono. I mean, I was disgusted to see Zelensky's support for Israel and to see the official Ukraine Twitter account tweeting out condemning Palestine and standing with Israel. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're going to side with Israel, who is the Russia in this situation. What are you talking about?
Open when we could. Today there were 15 of them. We've done garbage collections in the 8 camps, and we are now in all of the 58 schools.
Yeah, and I just want to let our viewers know that while you and I were speaking, NBC News has confirmed, in fact, that the Israeli Security Cabinet has now issued a decision to end hostilities and declare a ceasefire.
Okay, so let me pull up this is Netanyahu. Wait, let me read Cori Bush's statement. My statement on the ongoing violence in Palestine and Israel. Yeah, so back in the summer when the House took a vote on a resolution of whether or not to call Israel an apartheid nation, only, I think it was like seven or 9 Democrats voted against the resolution, and everyone else voted for it, and the resolution passed, which said that Israel was not an apartheid nation. Cori Bush was one of the people who, of course, she is part of the progressive left, and she voted against the resolution, said, I'm heartbroken by the ongoing violence in Palestine and Israel, and I mourn the over 250 Israeli and 230 Palestinian lives that have been lost today and the thousands injured following attacks by Hamas militants on Israeli border towns and Israeli military bombardment of Gaza. I strongly condemn the targeting of civilians, and I urge an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation to prevent further loss of life. Our immediate focus must be saving lives, but our ultimate focus must be on a just and lasting peace that ensures safety for everyone in the region. Violations of human rights do not justify more violations of human rights, and a military response will only exacerbate the suffering of Palestinians and Israelis alike. As part of achieving a just and lasting peace, we must do our part to stop this violence and trauma by ending U.S. government support for Israeli military occupation and apartheid. Hell yes. That is what we're looking for here. End U.S. government support for Israeli military occupation and apartheid. Because the U.S., using our tax dollars, is supporting apartheid, the apartheid regime of Israel. I'm continuing to closely monitor the situation. My office is ready to support residents of the 1st District with family members and loved ones in the region. Honestly, like, more people should be saying this. More people should be pissed off that our government is supporting this. That we are supporting illegal occupation. Hassan will often say one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. Yes, and in the case of Palestine, they do not have anyone but Hamas fighting for their liberation. This has been the only good statement that I have seen, actually. The only good statement by a politician that is correct. And that that obviously addresses the loss of life, which is terrible, but doesn't both sides the situation. That doesn't say like, oh, well, I condemn what happened. Violence is never the answer, blah, blah, blah. No, she's saying that in order to achieve peace, to stop the violence, Israel needs to motherfucking stop. Israel, the side that has all the power in this, in this fight, is the one that needs to stop this. They can stop this. They can end the violence. They can end their people being murdered. Ultimately, you want to know who's responsible for the civilian deaths? The Israeli civilian deaths? It's the fucking Israeli government. They are the reason why their civilians are being killed. Because they are illegally occupying and oppressing Palestinians. Yes, stop occupying foreign land. Land that is not yours. This is one of the worst I saw. I unequivocally condemn Hamas's horrific attacks on Israeli civilians at this time. Toronto police? What? Shut the fuck up. Toronto police are not aware of threats to Jewish communities in Toronto and are working to... This has nothing to do with Toronto, you dumb bitch. And are working to ensure the safety of Jewish communities in the city? Oh my God. Come on, Toronto, try not to make it about yourself challenge. God damn, this is giving America brain. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding with this? This is not Jewish people under attack.
Free Palestine.
This is oppressed Palestinians in Gaza who have no other choice but to fight back violently or to support terrorist groups that are fighting violently for the liberation of the Palestinian people. Oh my God, I'm gonna like my blood pressure, man. Doodle Burp, thank you for the 7 months. Jesus. Netanyahu vows to defeat Hamas and take revenge. Really? Because like that makes it seem as if you guys were just sitting here peacefully and that you were subjected to an unprovoked attack and now you're going to get your revenge. Shut up.
מה שקרה היום לא נראה בישראל.
What happened today was never seen in Israel.
ואני אדאג שזה לא
And
יקרה
I won't
יותר.
let it happen again.
הממשלה כולה.
The entire government is behind this decision. The IDF will immediately use all its strength to destroy. Okay, so this is what I'm worried about. I am legitimately worried, as I said, that they have been looking for the opportunity to exterminate Palestinians in Gaza. And they've been like, they've been doing diet extermination throughout the years. By just like killing civilians, you know, here and there, a couple thousand civilians here, a couple hundred civilians there. Like they want all these people to die. And I am worried because they know full well the Palestinians in Gaza can't go anywhere because they put fucking blockades everywhere. They are trapped. That is why this is a prison. And I am worried, as I'm sure a lot of people are, that Bibi Netanyahu using the IDF will use this attack by Hamas as an excuse for just straight up genocide. And by him tweeting out, I know a lot of people responded to this tweet like, where the fuck are they supposed to go? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on Palestinian civilians in Gaza to leave now because the Israeli military is going to turn all Hamas hiding places into rubble. Where are they supposed to go? Leave to where? Leave how? They are imprisoned, man. And so this is a way, in my thinking, for Israel to annihilate Palestinians in Gaza and then go, we told them, we warned them, we said, get out. We said that we were going to find the terrorists and we weren't going to stop until we got our revenge. And so they should have left. They should have gotten out. We told them that we were going to be doing this and it's their fault that they didn't leave.
מתייצבת מאחורי ההחלטה הזאת. צה"ל יפעיל מיד את כל עוצמתו כדי להשמיד את יכולות חמאס.
We will defeat them to death and take revenge for this black day they have inflicted on the state of Israel and its citizens.
נכה בהם עד חורמה וננקום בעוצמה.
Yes, and not just Gaza, like the West Bank. The West Bank, which has been occupied illegally by Israel since 1967. Big W, Caroline, amongst all others who treat Palestinian life like this is commendable. Thank you for speaking up for Palestine. Of course. I mean, that's why I went live. I'm probably only going to be live a little bit longer, but I really wanted to cover this.
על היום השחור הזה שהם עוללו למדינת ישראל ולאזרחיה.
Israel's okay. Israel said it is now at war with Hamas and launched airstrikes in Gaza, vowing to inflict an unprecedented price. Shame on any media outlet who runs this story by calling it like by referring to it as Hamas attacking Israel and thereby starting war with Israel. And that is how this is being painted. It's being painted as Hamas, aka Palestine, starting war with Israel. When what that does is place the blame on Palestine and place the innocence on Israel, when we know that that is not what's happening here. And it's insane to continue to let Israel get away with this propaganda. I mean, honestly, they have a powerful propaganda machine themselves, and then they've got the weight of the United States, they've got the UK, like they have got multiple media propaganda machines throughout the world who are propagating their lies and making sure the narrative is painted to make Israel look like the innocent who was attacked.
אנחנו נשנה את פני המציאות ברצועת...
We will change the face of reality in the Gaza Strip 50 years forward. Like, it is so, I don't even have words anymore. It is so demoralizing.
Amen, Caroline.
It is so demoralizing to see people supporting these bloodthirsty, greedy, violent, colonialist settlers who say things like this, like, we will change the face of reality in the Gaza Strip 50 years forward, who are standing here and saying, like, we will have our revenge, acting like they're fucking, you know, I will have my vengeance, acting like they are Marcus, or not Marcus Aurelius, what's his name from Gladiator, taking their revenge upon Hamas and upon Palestine, when it's like, you are the reason for this. You are the violent, you are the violent settlers who did this. Maximus. I don't know why I could not think of his name. My brain is just spinning right now. Master of the O, thank you for the tier 1. Surzos, thank you for the 2 months. Rebel Mike, thank you for the 2 months. This is a good and helpful visual. Palestinians expelled. In 1948, Zionist military forces expelled at least 750,000 Palestinians and captured 78% of the historic Palestine. The remaining 22% was divided into the West Bank and Gaza Strip. So here's 1917. This is pre-British Mandate Palestine. Before the British Mandate in Palestine, Jews made up around 6% of the total population. So very small. This is in 100 years, the difference. In 1948, this is when Israel first decided to do a violent expulsion of Palestinians from their land. They captured 78% of historic Palestine through violence and expelled at least 750,000 Palestinians. And then in 1967, they went, you know what? We want to get the other 22%, okay? These people, they're not people. They don't deserve any land whatsoever. So even though you could argue that they were here first, which were they really? Yes, they were. Newsflash, yes, they were. We're just going to take the rest of it. So that is what they did. During the June 1967 war, Israel occupied all of historic Palestine and expelled a further 300,000 Palestinians from their homes. In 1995, the occupied West Bank was divided into 3 areas, A, B, and C. Area A was Palestinian control. Area B was joint Israeli-Palestinian control, and Area C was Israeli control. And now here's 2020. U.S. President Donald Trump's plan would allow Israel to annex huge parts of the occupied West Bank and give Palestinians control of only 15% of historic Palestine. And what this doesn't have is, of course, what we've been referring to today, Gaza, the Gaza Strip, which in 2007 was taken back from Israel by Hamas. So in 2007, the Gaza Strip once again came under Palestine control, but under Hamas control. And that is when the blockades were implemented by Israel, effectively cutting off those who lived on the Strip from the outside world. And that has been the situation for 16 years. And that is where today, the attacks happened this morning, and then the retaliatory attacks happened by Israel. And now we are looking at a very serious, very frightening situation where Israel might very well bring down the entire might of their military force on the Palestinians living in Gaza. Dunrig, thank you for the 3 months. They could fully level Gaza, absolutely.
עזה 50 שנה קדימה. מה שהיה הוא לא מה שיהיה. אנחנו
What was in the
נפעל
past, what was in the past is not what will be. We will operate with full force. Like this is the Israeli defense minister saying this. What was in the past is not what will be. We will operate with full force.
במלוא העוצמה, אני מבקש מאזרחי ישראל להתאזר בסבלנות, לגבות את צה"ל ואת כוחות הביטחון.
A fucking psycho, murderer.
They mistakenly believe that the Israeli domestic divide that exists is a point of vulnerability, but they're wrong. Israel is united, left and right, religious and secular, all together to
I can't even listen. I cannot even listen to these people.
defend Israeli lives and to strike back at our enemies. We're going to fight back and we're going to win.
Strike back at our enemies. Do you know what I'm saying when I say like the language that they use and the way that this is being portrayed in the media makes it sound as if Israel is under attack, as if Israel was invaded by Palestinians who have been mercilessly and brutally attacking them and killing their people. That is how they have turned the past 75 years of Israel's apartheid regime into, oh, Israel's the one who's being targeted and we're the ones who are under attack. But you know what? We are going to stand up for our nation and our people, and we are going to stand up for our freedom. What? The actual gaslighting. Like this is just a perfect example of gaslighting. They don't think Palestinians are humans. Yes, I agree with that statement. They do not think Palestinians are humans, and that is why they moved into Palestinian territories and violently displaced them. I think I had like another thing I wanted to show you guys. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I have like 8,000.
While many associate the word with South Africa, apartheid is a universal legal term that refers to severe discriminatory oppression. Apartheid is also a crime against humanity. Its definition in the 1973 Apartheid Convention and the 1998 Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court is made up of 3 key elements: an intent to maintain the domination by one racial group over another, systematic oppression by one racial group over another.
It's worth noting that there are Israelis that hold positions like that due to a certain level of indoctrination. Yes, I am aware that a lot of Israelis have been fed this, these lies by their government. They have been indoctrinated. They have been brainwashed. They fully believe that this is their land and that the Palestinian people are the ones who have been violently attacking them. And so they have been forced to defend themselves. That is what a lot of Israelis believe. The people in power know exactly what they're doing. Yes, they always do.
And one or more inhumane acts as part of that oppression. Persecution is a crime against humanity under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. It is made up of 2 primary elements: a discriminatory intent leading to severe deprivation of fundamental rights of a racial, ethnic, or other group. On the basis of these definitions and its research, Human Rights Watch finds that Israeli authorities are committing the crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution. Human Rights Watch finds that the elements of the crimes come together in the occupied Palestinian.
Yes, and I would even go further to say genocide. To say, like, by by blocking the Palestinians' access to water, to medicine, by murdering civilians whenever, on a whim, wherever, like that is genocide. That has always been the goal. By obstructing their movement, by not allowing them the freedom of movement, yes, they are absolutely engaging in ethnic cleansing. They're engaging in genocide.
Territory.
Little Coco, thank you for the bits.
Pursuant to an Israeli government policy to maintain the domination by Jewish Israelis over Palestinians across Israel and the occupied territory. In the occupied territory, that intent has been coupled with systematic oppression and inhumane acts committed against Palestinians living there. The Israeli government is the main authority across Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. In these areas, Israeli officials have demonstrated a discriminatory intent to maintain domination over Palestinians by ensuring control over land and demographics by Jewish Israelis. Take the Jerusalem municipality as an example. The Israeli authorities' goal is to maintain a sizable Jewish majority by boxing in Palestinian areas while helping predominantly Jewish areas to flourish. Israeli authorities maintain a two-tier system which privileges Jewish Israelis over Palestinians. The means used by Israeli authorities in the occupied territory amount to the systematic oppression needed to establish the crime of apartheid. Israeli authorities have committed a range of abuses against Palestinians.
Yeah, and just keep in mind that like Human Rights Watch, other human rights organizations in the world, they have like done investigations and come to the conclusion that Israel is committing crimes of apartheid, is committing crimes of persecution, and our country, the United States of America, well, not all of you live here, but a lot of us do. We not only like skirt the issue, we have come out vehemently to say, no, Israel is not an apartheid nation. It is shameful. It is absolutely shameful.
In the occupied territory, those abuses include mass land confiscation, the denial of residency rights, and the suspension of civil rights, and rise to the threshold of inhumane acts and severe abuses of the fundamental rights of Palestinians. The international community should recognize the reality on the ground for what it is and press the Israeli authorities to end apartheid and persecution.
Worse than apartheid. I've never called it apartheid because it's worse than apartheid. South Africa depended on its black population. 85% of the population. They were the workforce. They needed them. South Africa tried actually to get the Bantustans to be recognized, try to make them look viable. Israel doesn't do that with the Palestinians in the occupied territories, just wants to get rid of them.
Yeah. Straight up. Israel just wants to get rid of them. Yes. And that is why the statements by Bibi Netanyahu, by the Israeli defense minister, are extremely frightful. And we already knew that this was where things were headed, but it's hard not to worry about what is going to happen next. I saw the news about this, had no idea the history between Palestine and Israel. Thanks for educating me. Absolutely. And thank you for coming in here to learn. And I think the thing is that if you listen, we all can admit when we don't know enough about a subject, if you don't know enough about what has been happening between Israel and Palestine, you should listen to people who do. And I'm not saying that like I'm the premier expert on this, but I mean people online, especially Palestinians who are, who are affected by this, whose families have been affected by this for decades. Listen, consult other news sources that are not mainstream news here in America or in the UK understand that Israel has an enormous PR propaganda machine. And so a lot of the framing of the news that comes out of Israel is going to be pro-Israel. Like it's going to paint Palestine as the violent party here. I don't think Bernie is 100% pro-Israel, but I think Bernie, like a lot of other progressives in government, have their hands tied. And because our government is so soundly pro-Israel, especially the White House, people like Bernie are now tiptoeing around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Is there a solution to all this? The solution is that, you know, nations around the world, including the US, recognize what is happening here, a violent apartheid / genocide, and call for an end to it, which again, these are all things that like, they're not happening, but I'm saying this is the solution. Israel stops their illegal occupation of Palestine. We have to come to an agreement that allows Palestinians to regain the land that was taken from them and to no longer be under Israeli control. Like, that's the solution here. Can you link that in chat? Yes. Why is man censored? Because Twitch will ban you if you say anything negative about man or men. You will catch a ban, and so it's a way to protect chatters who might pop off. The U.S. withdraws support to Israel and demands concessions. Yeah, so this is a lot of in in an ideal world where we do the right thing. But yes, the solution to this is that Israel stops their illegal settlements, that they no longer are keeping Palestine under a genocidal regime, and they back the fuck off, is what I'd say. Like, that's not the it's not the intellectual way to say it, but get the fuck out. GTFO, get the fuck out. That's what Israel needs to do. Get the fuck out. That is the solution. Give Palestinian people their land. Free Palestine. Free Palestine by Israel getting the fuck out. LOL, this commentary, very uninformed. Have a good one. Okay, dude. Suck my nuts, honestly. Uninformed commentary. Get the fuck out too. Be like Israel and get the fuck out, honestly. Suck my dick. Get the fuck out. Go have fun being pro-genocide somewhere else. I just spent 2 hours. 2 hours going over stuff. And I have to go. And I wasn't going to stream tonight. Because Saturdays are my day off. And I have to go. But I spent 2 fucking hours going over this. And even though there is still so much more we could discuss, you cannot say that this was uninformed. You cannot come in here and pretend like we didn't lay out the facts, okay? Like, Jesus Christ. And you know what's funny is that Hassan could do 10 hours of this coverage. And he probably will. Hassan will probably cover this for 10 hours. It's socialism or barbarism. Thank you so much for the 10. Thank you so much. Hassan will cover this for 10 hours and people will still say that shit. They'll be like, oh, okay, uninformed commentary. Oh, yeah. Why don't you like actually read an article, Hassan? There is a document. Yes, listen, I just wanted to get some coverage in because I know he didn't stream today and I know he would have been all over this shit. And like I said, I normally don't do world news. Like my stream content doesn't typically include world politics, but this is a huge story today, and also just the amount of the ignorance and the number of uninformed, like just painfully uninformed people that I saw online had me going, well, I need to cover this. I need to go live so we can cover this story. And also so you guys know that you are not alone in standing up and yelling Free Palestine. Thought Topic 666, thank you for the tier 1. Anyway, as George Michael says, freedom and Free Palestine.
Based Queen. If you don't stop this commentary, I'm going to start believing in monarchies again and believe we should give you the crown.
Oh, well, then I won't stop. Listen, I always hated Lizzie, Queen Lizzie, because I just wanted to be her. I just wanted to be the queen of my own monarchy. Anyway, y'all, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in tonight for this brief stream. I mean, we did 2 hours. And thank you for standing on the right side of history. Most of you. Some of y'all need to go back and do a little historical reading, okay? I need you to look at how revolutions are won. I need you to look at like how oppressed people fight back against their oppressors. Just go do a little studying. Okay, if you think that there's a right way to do this. For anybody wondering, like, how do I support? Well, first and foremost, expressing your support for Palestine on any of, the various social media platforms. There are, of course, ways to donate. Gaza has a lot of humanitarian groups that have been literally keeping people alive in there. I don't have a link, but I can look into that. I will figure something out. Caroline, I fucking love you. You're doing God's work. Oh, can you share some donation links? I want to vet donation links first. If anybody has vetted links, then let's share those, but let's always make sure that we vet links first. I have not had any, I have not had time to vet links yet. I'm sure Hassan will have them. And again, Hassan's going live tomorrow. So if you're like, no, we didn't cover this enough, you're going to get like 10 hours of coverage on it, okay? This is just me here on the ground providing you the context on my day off. Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm going to send you over to, let's see. I'll send you over to Nez. He's probably doing some gaming. I know I didn't do any gaming tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow. And the other reason that I wanted to cover this today is because tomorrow is Sunday. And Sunday is dinner and a movie. And it's my one day out of the week, my one stream at least, where we don't do news, we don't do politics. I just cook dinner and we watch a movie. So tomorrow night we'll probably do something spooky since it is spooky season. One day of just good vibes. Yes. Yeah. Not me like yelling at people to suck my dick. To go fuck themselves. You know, I need a little break from that. So that's what Sundays are. The Lord's Day. Anyway, have a fabulous rest of your night. I hope to see you tomorrow. I'll probably be going live around 5:30 or 6. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Thanks for always supporting. And I will see you when I see you next. Good night, everybody.